So, J. Ruud, what lovable book are we talking about today?
Well, Stacey Margaret Jones, I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Here's hint number 1. Old longing's nomadic leap, chafing at custom's chain, again from its brumal sleep, wakens the ferine strain.
I don't know. Welcome to Between the Covers, the podcast in which author J. Ruud selects one novel from his carefully curated list of the 100 most lovable novels in the English language. I don't know why you're laughing at that. It is carefully curated. Maybe you just threw a bunch of books in the air and whatever hit you in the head goes on the list.
Whatever landed, I picked.
And I, author Stacey Margaret Jones, interrogate him about his choices. So each week he gives me some hints about the novel to see if I can guess. And I need hint 1A, which is, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know, have I read this book is my next question.
I suspect maybe you haven't.
Okay.
Although you might have. I mean, I'm sure you're aware of it.
Okay. All right. Hint number 2, please.
Hint number 2, Buck.
Hint number 3, please.
Hint number 3, the Klondike Gold Rush.
Oh, Call of the Wild?
Call of the Wild, it is!
By Jack London.
Jack London.
Awesome, I got one. I have not read this. I am, of course, aware, but I have not read this novel, so I'm excited.
Okay.
Well, before we get into our battery of questions, when did this novel come out?
This novel was published in 1903.
Oh,
it was,
okay.
Serialized in the Saturday Evening Post, and then it was published as a hardcover book of its own later in that year.
I thought it was more modern than that. It seems interesting.
Well, the Klondike Gold Rush began in 1897.
I know, but you can write a book about the Klondike Gold Rush anytime after it happened.
Well, that's
I could
true.
write one tomorrow if I wanted.
But Jack London, or his actual name was John Griffith Cheney, but he was known by his pen name, Jack London.
Yeah.
He actually dropped out of Berkeley and went to the Yukon to take part in the gold rush.
It was kind of like his fiction seems to me like fictional journalism. Like, you know, he was there, he was living it, but he wasn't writing nonfiction or journalistic pieces on it.
He did write some nonfiction stuff.
Right.
He wrote some things for I think the San Francisco Examiner, it was, about his experiences in the gold rush, and then he did the novel.
But then he kind of live turned it into fiction. Like a lot of times it takes writers more time to let things kind of settle and sort themselves, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's doing it kind of as it's happening. It's fascinating.
Yeah. And he really was a journalist. People associate Jack London with these kind of adventure books about
I do.
the gold rush. But he wrote a lot of different kinds of things. And one of his most admired books, which was published the same year as Call of the Wild, was called The People of the Abyss. And it was a nonfiction first-hand expose of the poor working-class citizens of London's Whitechapel district.
Oh, wow.
So he did a lot of other things. He wrote another book called The Iron Heel, which came out in 1908, I think. And that depicts a rise of a brutal conservative dictatorship designed to prevent a populist social movement from gaining political power.
That never happens.
No, that's never happened in history. And it's very much kind of a forerunner of books like 1984.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well,
Such things.
we talk a lot here about books that are in conversation with each other, and that's interesting. I guess because I'll just speak candidly, because I was ignorant of his of his body of work. I guess I wouldn't have thought of, Orwell in conversation with Jack London, but that was, as I said, misinformed. So how long is the book?
It's not very long.
Okay.
It was in the first edition. It was 232 pages.
Oh, okay.
But that included quite a number of illustrations.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
You get a copy now. It's going to be in the newer editions. It's going to be maybe 130 pages.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Oh, so pretty short.
So it's really a novella.
So according to our routines, you are finishing that book before you start it. Because we say I say I'm finishing a book if I'm within 100 pages of the end.
Yep.
And I say I'm starting a book if I'm over 100 pages in.
That's right.
So you would be finishing this book on page 31, but you wouldn't be starting it until page 101.
That's right.
So there you go. Just in case you need those things to motivate you.
So it's a quick read.
Yeah. Okay. So before we go on with more discussion, who else likes this book? And in this case, it might be easier to say who doesn't like it. It's probably on a lot of lists.
It's on quite a few lists.
Let's give us the high points, okay?
So this is the book that made Jack London's reputation, and it helped to make him the most commercially successful writer. He was really the first American writer to earn big money from his books.
Oh, wow.
And he had an international reputation.
He was famous.
He was very famous in his own time.
Well, when you said that about him kind of reporting on the conditions in Whitechapel, then I was second guessing because I was like, he's an American writer.
Oh, yeah. He was
So
born
he was
in California.
He was there reporting on that, so to speak. Yeah. Okay, great. All right. So give us the lists.
So
the lists.
The book has never been out of print since its first publication, 1903. So here's other people who like this book. 1998, the Modern Library named it as one of its 100 greatest English language novels of the 20th century, and it was named on the Guardian's list of the 100 greatest English language novels, the Observer's list of the 100 greatest world novels. Penguin readers voted it as number 12 on their 100 favorite novels. The Library Journal named it one of its books of the century. The College Board included it as one of 101 novels recommended for students planning on going to college. And according to the OCLC Complete 500, which is that list of the books that are on the most library shelves in the world.
Oh, right. I love that.
This comes in as number 36.
Oh, wow. Okay. I would thought it would be higher, actually.
Well,
because it has such a wide, broad appeal, I guess.
Yeah, it does. One list that it's not on is the Norwegian Book Club list.
I was wondering if it was going to be the librarians list or the Norwegian Book Club list, because those are your favorite. That's interesting.
But they have one of his novels, Martin Eden, on the list. So it's interesting to think of why that might be. Mm-hmm. That's a novel which is kind of semi-autobiographical. Uh-huh. And the protagonist is a working class guy who wants to be a writer. Mm-hmm. And he's attracted to socialism. Jack London was a socialist. Mm-hmm. And as were many of the writers of his time.
Well, you can see that if he's reporting on and focusing on the conditions of the workforce, he's probably not going to be in the billionaire class.
No. Martin Eden, unlike his creator, decides that he doesn't want to be a socialist. He wants to do everything on his own. He doesn't want to have to depend on a community. And Jack London sent a copy of the book to Upton Sinclair, another socialist writer of the same time.
Have we talked about?
We haven't talked about Upton Sinclair.
Oh, okay.
And he wrote to Sinclair, "One of my motifs in this book was an attack on individualism in the person of the hero. I must have bungled it, for not a single reviewer has discovered it."
That feeling when you think you're saying something and you
nobody
didn't
notices.
You never said it at all.
Which Upton Sinclair could probably relate to because he wrote The Jungle.
Yeah.
To talk about the plight of these workers in the meatpacking industry, and nobody cared about the workers, but they did care about the fact that it sounds like the meat is not healthy, and so you get these food and drug laws because of that book.
Everybody's favorite radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
So there you go. All right.
But
so,
anyway, a lot of people love this book.
Yeah, just not the Norwegians. They loved a different one.
They love the socialist one.
I really believe that you can get the Harps of Glory on this for the down and dirty summary. I mean, I could probably do a down and dirty. So let's see how you do.
I'd be interested in hearing yours.
I just said that, and then I was like, no, you can't. No, you cannot.
I mean, since you haven't read it, I'd be interested in hearing what your impression of it is.
It's about a guy in the wild. Dun, 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 dun. Harps of Glory.
No, I think that one's definitely going to get you the trombone.
All right, let's do the down and dirty summary by the professional, okay? Get this amateur hour over with.
Okay, the protagonist of the book is a dog named Buck. Mm-hmm. He's a cross between a St. Bernard and a Scotch Shepherd, what we would call a rough collie. Mm-hmm. He's a 140-pound dog who lives in the Santa Clara Valley, which is near San Francisco in California. Okay. And he's a pet.
Right.
And he has this nice life. When the Klondike Gold Rush starts, there's a need for big dogs who can pull a heavy load. And he gets kidnapped and sold.
He gets press ganged.
Pretty much, yeah. And so he suddenly finds himself in this completely new situation where he has to adapt to some really harsh conditions and learn how to be among all these other dogs.
All the other workers.
Yeah, who are, vying for who's top dog and all that. And he goes through several different owners. Sometimes he has a really good time, like when he leads this pack of dogs on the fastest trip from Dawson to Juneau. And sometimes he's in very bad conditions, as in one when he gets bought by these three. I guess I'm getting a little off.
You tell too much specific info.
Well, let's just say he has some hard times and he has some kind of victorious times. But at one point, he's being beaten. He feels like he can't do any more, and this guy's beating him, and he's just taking it, and he's not going to move. And a man named John Thornton stops the guy from beating him, and tells him basically, I will kill you if you touch that dog again. And he ends up adopting Buck, nursing him back to health, and Buck learns to love this guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he is feeling this tug of his, in his subconscious mind, I suppose you'd say, that he wants to leave the human civilization and go and run with the wolves.
Oh, okay. That's the call of the wild.
Yeah. And so that's basically it. I'm not going to tell you how it comes out.
That I gotta say that the trombones of despair.
Oh,
it was
man.
pretty long. Man, we'll get there someday. All right. So I
should have just gone into more detail then.
we have the whole podcast for that.
All right.
Okay, so obviously I didn't know what it was about, and I am gratified though, because when you're talking about the gold rush, I mean, obviously, so Klondike is Alaskan gold rush.
It's the Yukon is actually in Canada.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, yeah, it's
Alaska, not in California.
Alaska and Yukon.
Okay. When you were summarizing it, I was like, I don't know if I can read this book. I don't know if I can take it. Like the dog, I mean, oh my God.
I first read this book when I was in 9th grade.
Yeah. Well, because you were part of the target audience then, I would think.
Well, not really.
Too young?
It's kind of amazing how this book becomes kind of marketed as a children's novel.
Yeah.
Like a
Young adult.
boy's adventure novel. Because, hey, it's about a dog.
Yeah.
So it's lumped in with books like, the Rats of Nim.
Hardy Boys.
Well, but because of the animal protagonist.
Right. Oh, right. Okay.
Wind in the Willows.
Right.
Would
Okay.
be a kind of contemporary,
Right. Sure.
I guess,
Sure.
example. And London was like just really frustrated by that.
He seems like he got a lot of exposure to writing something that people did not understand.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think this podcast subtitle could be, every way in which I did not know what this book was about. Because I guess I've only seen passingly the kind of, gloss on it and the marketing treatments for it, right? And who reads it and who it's marketed toward. But it sounds like it's reminding me, like you talked about his socialism, his political position, the things that he investigated in his journalistic work and that he also investigated in his fiction. It reminds me a little bit of War Horse in that it's from the point of view of an animal used and ill-used by humans, and an animal whose lot is with humans regardless, right? And you just hope you get a good one.
Yeah, and sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't.
And War Horse isn't a tween novel, like that's adult subject matter.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like, you think people might think of this as a boy and his dog, but it's really about, right?
Ain't no boys in it.
Rough people doing rough work and mistreating each other and the animals that are at their whim.
Yeah. But that is kind of the impression. A lot of people who don't know the rest of London's work, but know Call the Wild and White Fang, he's a popular writer of animal stories. On Amazon, when I looked up what the contemporary editions of the book are, it says recommended for ages 9 to 13. And I was, oh man, Jack London's turning over in his grave. Because when I read it in 9th grade, it was the best book I'd ever read. And it became my favorite book for a long time.
Do you remember, did you feel like there's something going on here? I'm not sure I understand all of it. Or were you able to read it at a certain level and then reread it later at a deeper level? Or?
Well, I could follow pretty much what was happening.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I did understand what was going on with the Call of the Wild.
Oh.
What I didn't understand is why it was thought of as a children's book.
Oh, okay. Even at that time, you were like, oh.
The book I read, in fact, was an illustrated edition that had been designed for kids. It was published by a children's book publisher, Whitman Publishing, Racine, Wisconsin.
Oh, there you go.
But I was thinking, well, it's full of the deaths of dogs and of people. It's full of violence. It's full of brutality. You get a grisly picture of what Tennyson called nature red in tooth and claw.
Yeah.
And
is that you mean that nature doesn't care if it kills you?
This is a post-Darwinian view,
Mm-hmm.
and a kind of a misrepresentation of Darwin, because Darwin talks about the survival of the fittest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think he called it that, but people began to talk about it as fittest for Darwin was, who could have the most babies, basically.
Who could keep up, or how they could adapt and evolve to succeed as a species.
Well, yeah, and the way you succeed as a species is you keep alive and you have
reproduce.
You reproduce, yeah.
Right.
But survival of the fittest is thought of as a struggle between the strong and the weak, and who's going to emerge the victor in this struggle.
Right, and that's how I think a lot of toxic masculinity and toxic capitalism misuses that phrase.
Yeah. I mean, social Darwinism became a kind of value, I guess, for people, or a way of looking at society.
A justification, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But Call of the Wild does sort of represent that on the level of the dog.
Right.
But the reason people think of it, I think, as a children's book is there's an animal who's the protagonist.
And they just think that can only be for kids.
It can only be like a cartoon.
Right.
It can only be Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim.
Right.
Or, Mr. Ed.
Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Freddie the Pig.
Right. Oh, there you go. There's your favorite book of all time.
Yeah. But it's not like that at all.
It makes you wonder what the illustrator who worked on that edition thought, because they were reading all this rough prose and then here's a drawing for kids.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I would love to get inside their mind and be like, how am I supposed to do this?
Yeah. The thing is, Buck is presented not in a cute way,
right,
or an anthropomorphic way,
right.
That's
hard.
You do see things through his eyes. I mean, he's not the narrator.
Well, I was wondering, actually, I was going to ask you who the point of view is.
Had he been the narrator, then it might have been more.
So it's somebody kind of telling what's happening to Buck, but it's an unknown. It's not a person. There's no person.
Well, the narrator isn't. The narrator is,
omniscient.
And he's the god who's refined out of existence, kind of. But it's that free and direct style that focuses on one character and what that character is doing and what's kind of going on in his mind. But there's no anthropomorphism about Buck, reasoning things through as if he's a human or anything like that. You get his emotions, you get his reactions to what's happening. You get into his consciousness and feel and react as London thought a dog might.
Right.
Not the way a dog might if a dog thought like a human being.
Right. So how does he present emotions then without anthropomorphizing? And that is not me saying that dogs don't have emotions, because we have 3 dogs. We know they have emotions.
They're very emotional.
But that can be a slippery slope, I think.
Yeah. Things happen and you get...
You see his reaction?
You see his reaction to it.
Okay.
There's a scene soon after he gets there, when he gets to the north, and he's trying to figure out, he sees there are other dogs, and kind of sizing each other up. But then night falls, and he suddenly realizes the dogs are nowhere around. Do I go in by the people like I did when I was a pet, kind of thing? No, they chase him out. And then he realizes that the other dogs have buried themselves in the snow to sleep.
Just to keep warm while they sleep.
Yeah. So he figures that out.
Right. He watches and learns.
Yeah. And he watches an older dog fall, and the rest of the pack jump him and kill him, and realizes, okay,
oh God,
I have to never fall.
I can't read this. I can't read it. I can't read it.
Yeah, you can tell that he feels some pride in himself when he makes this trip at the fastest speed it's ever happened.
Which I can also say is not anthropomorphizing dogs, because you can see when they're proud of themselves.
Yeah.
Sylvia is very proud of herself when she gets a shoe out of the front closet and runs around.
Yeah. And you can see that he's given up at the one point when he has these completely inexperienced people, a woman, 2 men, who think the dogs are something like some mechanical object or something.
Right.
That they just tell them do this and they do it. And, if they don't do it, you beat them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how much rest the dogs need. And Buck just at that point, lies down, gives up, and just sits there dumbly while this guy is just trying to beat him into submission. This is when John Thornton comes into the picture. He becomes the master that Buck thinks of as kind of his forever home, sort of. And Thornton stops the guy. London describes it. John Thornton stood over Buck, struggling to control himself, too convulsed with rage to speak. "If you strike that dog again, I'll kill you," he at last managed to say in a choking voice. And so he takes Buck basically as his own. These incompetent miners go off with this sled that everybody is telling them, this is happening in the town, everybody's telling them is piled too high, it's going to tip over. And also they're being told, you can't cross that lake on your sled because the ice is too thin. But they don't listen to anybody. They take the sled off. It goes through the ice. They all drown, and so do the dogs.
See this? Oh, but this is what I'm talking about with like the similarity with Warhorse. Like you just have so little agency, you know, and you're with somebody who cares, or you're with somebody who will work you till you die and get another one.
Yeah. With John Thornton, Buck will do anything for him. And John Thornton is telling this companion of his that he thinks Buck will do anything for him. And they're walking by the river, and he says, "Buck, jump in." And Buck jumps in the river, and he's like, "Whoa!" And then he, gets Buck out. But later on, he's bragging about Buck in a bar in one of these towns, and people think that Buck is a pretty great dog, and so Thornton's bragging about him. And
be careful.
Well, I mean, this is not a spoiler.
I mean, be careful. His name is John.
Yeah.
I mean, be careful, John. You brag about something you have in a bar. Somebody's in the bar is going to say, "I'm going to come and get that. Thank you very much."
Yeah. He ends up betting that Buck can pull a sled carrying half a ton by himself. He can pull a sled carrying half a ton of flour for 100 yards after first breaking it free of ice. So this guy takes him up on it, and then it's like, oh, okay. And he has Buck tied to the sled, and because he wants to do what Thornton wants him to do, he manages to do it.
He does it.
And the bet was for $1,000, which would have completely broken him if Buck had lost.
Yeah, sure.
But everybody's cheering, and this guy says, he's trying to get Thornton to sell him the dog. Right. After seeing this. Right. He says, "I'll give you 1,000 for him, sir. 1,000, sir. 1,200, sir." Thornton rose to his feet. His eyes were wet. The tears were streaming frankly down his cheeks. "Sir," he replied. "No, sir. You can go to hell, sir. It's the best I can do for you, sir." That when I read this in 9th grade, that was my favorite line. Yes. You can go to hell, sir. That's the best I can do for you, sir.
Well, and then it sounds like Thornton loves Buck.
Oh, yeah. The way any human can love their dog.
Well, because they're a family.
Yeah. And this dog is a very special dog.
Right.
He actually saves Thornton from drowning himself later on when trying to cross a river. Yeah. And so there's nothing closer than this bond. But the thing about the book is that, okay, first of all, that first clue that I gave you.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. That didn't seem to belong with the other ones, actually.
That's the head note to the novel. That's what's at the very beginning of the novel.
Your clues are anti-clues.
Well, but it's actually an important point that most people, I mean...
Well, read it again now.
The 9-year-old who's reading this book is not, first of all, is not going to understand half the vocabulary in that, and is going to really have no idea what it's doing there. But this is the first stanza of a poem by a poet named John Myers O'Hara, who wrote it in 1902.
Okay.
So it was published the year before the novel was published.
Contemporary.
And, it's called atavism.
So
Atav-
tell us what atavism is, please.
Atavism is a tendency to revert to something ancient.
Oh,
Or
that's not what I thought
in
that
the
word meant.
past.
Interesting.
And in
Okay.
biology, it's the reappearance of earlier traits in a subsequent generation.
Okay.
So it's kind of this looking back at what you were before long ago. And the first stanza is old longings nomadic leap, chafing at custom's chain. The old tendencies of, in this case, the dog, keep coming back to him despite custom kind of driving those desires out of the dog.
Right.
Again, from its brumal sleep wakens the ferine strain, the wild strain of the wild dog
Right.
that his ancestors were
Is
10,000 years ago.
Calling out to him through his domesticity.
Yeah, to put off his domesticity. And the way it's described in the book, first of all, Buck starts having these dreams. And we know dogs dream. We've seen them.
We see them dream all the time.
Yeah. But he has dreams about living with a primitive hairy man sometime in the remote past.
He's having species dreams.
Yeah,
Or
it's like
species archetypes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of the collective unconscious
of dogs.
Of the canine race.
Yeah, how fascinating.
So it's kind of presented in the book as a species memory of an earlier stage of evolution.
Right.
And at one point, London says, deep in the forest, a call was sounding. And as often as he heard this call, mysteriously thrilling and luring, he felt compelled to turn his back upon the fire and the beaten earth around it, and to plunge into the forest, and on and on. He knew not where or why, nor did he wonder where or why, the call sounding imperiously deep in the forest. And at one point, he actually strays off from Thornton's camp and meets this wolf, and kind of is playing with the wolf, and they go off, and he sees the wolf pack, and so he's kind of drawn to that. And so as the book gets toward its end, you have this struggle within, between staying with the person that he loves or going back to what his instincts are telling him is his true self, kind of.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess that's another discussion, because I guess this is Jack London's imagining of a dog's true self.
Yeah.
But
and London's a naturalist writer, and like Stephen Crane and Theodore Dreiser and Frank Norris in America, all inspired by Émile Zola, who's writing these naturalistic novels in France. And it's kind of an application of Darwinian science to
But I think you could say with Darwinian science that dogs evolved with people because that was beneficial to them as well. So I think it's just an interesting question to consider, to ponder. Is a wolf a dog's true nature, or is their bond with humans part of their defining true nature as well? I think you could make a scientific case probably for both sides, because dogs didn't have to develop with people, but if we're talking about survival of the fittest, right, that their evolution with human beings is part of how they were able to continue as a successful species, right?
Yeah. Because
their partnership with humans, although individually not always very good, as a collective species, has kept them successful, right?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting question.
I think that's a more advanced view of
I'm being
than
anachronistic.
Would have been
right.
At least popular in
An understanding of the dog in 1902 was that they related to wolves or descended from wolves, and that is what their longing would be. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
By that assumption, John Thornton would have felt the pressure from of that hairy man.
We share the same brain because I was thinking, like, I don't have dreams about living in a cave as Homo sapiens, or I don't know if I don't think I had any Neanderthal in my.
I didn't have much. I think I had
I don't think I had any.
bit.
But I mean, I don't have those dreams. So I think that's an interesting kind of showing of the hand of the understanding of dogs. Like, they're truly wild. They live with us for these reasons, but really they want to be wolves, maybe.
Or at least there's the collective unconscious of the race of canines.
Yes.
The species of canines. It's not as sophisticated or as developed as the collective conscious of humans.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's...
Yeah. I just look at, our Cavalier King Charles right here. I do not think this girl wants to go play with wolves. But maybe she does. I mean, I don't know. She seems like she likes the couch and, like, a warm blanket. And
well, it's pretty clear that Buck, in his home in the Santa Clara Valley, would never have had these
had
dreams.
no longings, right?
Yeah, it's getting out there.
Oh, okay.
Where it's really you against the environment, so you're sort of back to the older situation.
Well, maybe that's like me when we were in West Yorkshire, and I was like, I live here. Maybe that was my evolutionary calling, was to live in West Yorkshire.
I hear that.
Well, this is really fascinating. What else? You said it was the best book you had read until that point.
Yeah.
What else do you find?
In fact, when I was in 10th grade, I had to do really my first research paper in school in an American Lit class. Mm-hmm. And we were given this list of authors. You could choose one author from the list, but only one person in the class could do that author.
Right. I've had that happen.
So I was like, okay, I really want Jack London. But we went through the class alphabetically. So an R was pretty close to the end. But nobody took him before they got to me.
See,
so
I had that happen in a class, and I ended up with Elizabeth Bishop instead of Sylvia Plath. So, which was good because I enjoyed it. But I understand. Yeah. So I'm glad you got yours.
Yeah. So I read a number of his books and learned a lot about him. So he was kind of my first literary crush.
Yeah, well, I understand. That's meaningful. That means a lot. I think that's important. So anything else you find lovable about this book that you want to mention before we move on?
It's been noted. There's a critic named Earl Labor. He pointed out that the traditional hero myth, speaking of Jungian stuff, applies to Buck. That he is basically an archetypal hero, only in dog form. Right. Because he's like the hero of myth. He's initiated into this harsh world of violence where he has to struggle for survival. So he has that initiation into the sort of heroic world.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, it's fascinating to me how the violence, the natural world is violent, and the capitalistic world is violent. Right? The civilized world is incredibly violent for the dogs.
Yeah. People too.
Yeah. Anyway, go on. It's just very interesting to me.
He matures and becomes a hero when he becomes the leader of his pack, which he does, by the way, by engaging in a life or death battle with the other leader who's always been picking on him.
Right.
And he knows it's do or die, and he's seen that situation where the weak dog was attacked by the whole pack. Yeah. So he's determined, I'm not going to fall. I'm not going to be on the ground. And he ends up winning that. So he becomes the hero. He becomes the leader of the pack. He undergoes a symbolic death and rebirth as you get toward the end of the novel.
Don't tell too much about
it. But this rebirth kind of is the apotheosis of him as the leader of the pack. It's the ending is amazing, and I think that's what really sold me on the book. And I can't talk about it.
No, please don't. I will say that's good to hear, because a lot of times, especially in a concept novel, which this has, is kind of concept, right? Because it's like my hero is a dog, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, writers have great ideas for these and they cannot deliver. They can't. Maybe they can set up the situation because that's kind of the thought experiment and it's interesting to explore. But by the end of the book, you're like, okay, this was a great idea, but you didn't know what to do with it, and it's such a disappointment because it doesn't deliver. Because what you want more than the creative situation is meaning.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that you felt he came through.
He comes through.
Watch it. Watch it. You don't want to ruin it. All right. Well, why might somebody not like this book?
I think there's only one woman in the book.
Oh,
and
okay.
She's really despicable character.
Oh.
She's one of those three useless miners that end up going through the ice. Thornton doesn't have a wife, or if he does, she ain't anywhere near the Yukon.
Is there a mom in the family that he starts out with?
Not really.
Not
no.
explicitly.
It's an old guy.
Oh, okay. So okay. Maybe that's why it's marketed to dudes.
Well, yeah.
Because there's no women in it. Yeah, I mean,
a 13-year-old kid can get the book and understand it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really, they're not really the primary intended audience. Yeah, London was frustrated. He found himself lumped in with writers who humanized animals. But he protested it time and again, and many times in my narratives, I wrote, speaking of my dog heroes, he did not think these things. He merely did them, etc. And I did it to hammer into the average human understanding that these dog heroes of mine were not directed by abstract reasoning, but by instinct, sensation, and emotion, and by simple reasoning. Also, I endeavored to make my stories in line with the facts of evolution. I hewed them to the mark set by scientific research and awoke one day to find myself bundled neck and crop into the camp of the nature fakers.
Bless his heart. So frustrating. Well, I can think of a reason that I don't want to read it, which is all of the awful things that happen to the dogs.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems like it would be excruciating.
Yeah.
So that seems tough, and it might be hard.
London was very much, he was a socialist who was concerned with the treatment of workers, but he was also very much an animal lover and
Against cruelty.
Against cruelty to animals, and he led a kind of a crusade against what was being done to circus animals.
Right. Oh, wow.
Like
okay. Interesting.
So he's kind of way ahead of his time.
Sure.
There. He believed in animal rights as well as workers' rights. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, if you're not going to like it because you think it's a children's book, get that out of your head.
Yeah, it's not. Obviously, I've been schooled because it is not. It sounds like it is absolutely not for children. Or, you're not going to get the full impact of it as a child reader.
Or it might just be too much for you.
Yeah, well, I think it might be in that way about the cruelty. So where do you rank it then?
Well, let me say one more thing.
Okay.
There have been 11 film or television adaptations of
Oh, wow.
Call of the Wild.
Sure.
First, a silent film made by Hal Roach in 1923. But the best-known version is probably the 1935 adaptation that starred Clark Gable as John Thornton and Loretta Young. Because, of course, you couldn't make a movie without a woman who was a protagonist. And Buck is just sort of a side character.
All movies.
Yeah, and then there was, you might remember, there was a recent version from 2020 that starred Harrison Ford as John Thornton, and it used a computer-generated motion capture effects for Buck.
Oh.
It was basically an AI Buck, and that just did not
hit.
It didn't hit right for me. Anyway.
Well, if you live with dogs and it's not authentic, it reads right away as uncanny valley. It's discomforting.
Yeah.
Discomforting.
Yeah, it's like And the problem with all of the adaptations is that the violence is toned down, essentially to make the novel conform to the animal story image that people have of the book. And all of the films are human-oriented, making, Buck is just kind of window dressing in his own story. So if you want the real Call of the Wild, you need to read The Call of the Wild and not watch a movie.
Well, it sounds like they're taking it and making it into the book they thought it was.
Yeah. Oh, this isn't right.
Like I said, like what that illustrator must have thought when they gave him the job, and then he's reading it going, this is not a kid's book. Does anybody know that this is not for kids?
Has anybody actually read this book?
Oh, my gosh. Well, that's fascinating. So how do you rank Call of the Wild?
I'm putting this at number 46 so far.
All right. So what's number 45 then?
It's right after Farewell to Arms.
Oh, well, those go together in their own way, I can see.
And it's right ahead of All the King's Men.
Oh, and now for something completely different. Well, that's fascinating. Awesome. Okay. Well, it's a great discussion because I learned a lot because I thought I could do the down and dirty summary and I could not.
Apparently neither could I.
Oh, well, yours was too long because you were too knowledgeable and mine was just wrong.
Because you were too...
Because I was too wrong.
But it must be time for Chaos Reader.
Yes. So I want to check in on a book I am in the middle of that I really, really like. I think I mentioned it on here when I received it. It's called Exit Interview, The Life and Death of My Ambitious Career by Christy Coulter. And she's an exec at Amazon. And I wondered about her NDA, her non-disclosure agreement, if she had one, because this is really inside baseball, working at Amazon and their kind of corporate culture and the work. Apparently Amazon just had a very kind of bare bones approach to internal costs. They used their laptops until they were completely unusable. They didn't have enough conference rooms ever. Like they were just, we're not going to spend the money on us. When they traveled, they had to take off the expense account if they had a second dessert or something. Like they could only get, they were very costs,
They could have dessert.
They had to be very careful with what they expensed, et cetera, because they were very, very careful with their costs, which was kind of interesting, but also just about the way, what corporate life is like. And one of the things that she does really well, I think, is shows how women are treated there and how the women that she manages are always just so sure that they're just not good enough. And she's like, you're amazing. You're exceeding all expectations. What are you talking about? And the men are just so sure that they're amazing. And and it's not that they're terrible. It's just the different ways they view their own work and the work of other people, and how the women manage the corporate structure and how the men manage that same landscape. So there's a lot about that too. And for me, this is coming at an interesting time in my own career, and it's really interesting to read about this. And if you are on the interview job hunting side of TikTok that I seem to be on, the way corporate America treats candidates, it used to be 2, maybe 3 interviews. Now it's 5, 6, 7, 8 interviews, a project, and then they ghost you. Or, they keep telling you the top candidate, and then you get a form email from somebody you've never met saying they're moving on with other candidates. Thank you for your interest. It's just, it's so brutal. And then this book is really about that. It's completely brutal once you get there. The brutality of the interview process is emblematic of the brutality of the culture once you get inside.
So it's sort of like Buck.
Yeah. Honestly, there's a lot, I think, similar in that it's, this is not physical violence in her side of things because she's white collar, professional. But it's just, anyway. But the writing, I really like. She's a really good writer, and the way she presents things, and then she'll have these kind of little asides, ways she handles kind of themes. If you can enjoy a very upsetting nonfiction memoir, this is the one.
Okay.
So just wanted to check in on that. I'm really enjoying it.
All right.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank our producing sensei and art director, Jerry Bruno, for everything he does to help us with our podcast. And we'd also like to thank our listeners and viewers and ask you just to take 2 seconds to like, share, comment, click, or even a couple minutes to tell a book-loving friend about our podcast. If you're in a book group, maybe you can talk to them about it. And if you're in a book group and you read one of our books, we'd love to zoom in and join you. So, yeah, we do that.
We do.
So, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time. Between the Covers.